Chapter 24:11. That's right, Tangwa replied. But there are still many things that I don't understand. Qingheng looked at Tangwa eagerly, as if he didn't understand anything. He looked silly and cute. Can I ask you for advice? I'll give you all the treasures in the lake. When I can control my power, I can protect you. If anyone bullies Guoguo in the future, I'll curse them and put them into a pot of oil. They'll be steamed, braised, boiled, and mixed system. Ha 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 ha. He really knew how to take advantage of the situation. He suspected that this guy was deliberately making him look silly so that he could rely on the host. This guy was really doing this for his wife. He didn't even care about his own kind. Tangwa, from then on, she began her life of raising a big black fish that could curse. She raised it for the rest of her life. No one would believe that as a fish, she still had to raise another fish. After spending about 3 months, Tangwa helped Qingheng master his talent. Now, Qingheng was basically able to control his own talent freely. He would no longer bring danger to his companions just by saying a word. Even so, he didn't think of deliberately mending his relationship with the other fish in the lake. Now that he had a red carp by his side, he felt very satisfied. He didn't want to play with those ordinary fish in the lake at all. He knew that Tangwa liked treasures, all kinds of beautiful and shiny things. While Tangwa was cultivating, he would go to the bottom of the lake to look for them when he had nothing to do. Every time Tangwa woke up, she could see that her body was filled with shells, gems, pearls, and the like. Qingheng was not weak. Although he occasionally went to look for all kinds of treasures, he didn't want to fall behind when he saw that Tangwa was working hard to cultivate every day. He didn't forget that he once said to Tangwa that he would protect her in the future. It seemed that this casual sentence had been imprinted in the depths of his mind after he said it, even in his heart. He never thought of going against it. Then Tangwa realized that this guy also cultivated the power of the stars. Obviously, he knew about the situation in this world and secretly cheated for himself. Seeing this, she no longer cared about these things and focused on her cultivation. Originally, when she heard the news, she could have gone to find Sushi to settle the score and expose him as a fickle person. However, her current strength was not strong enough. Although there were few opponents in the mortal realm, she was facing the Celestial Lord, who was in charge of the constellations. If the Heavenly Emperor protected the two of them in the future, she would have to face the entire Heaven realm. She could not be careless. Even if he couldn't cultivate to surpass the Heaven realm in a short period of time, at least he could protect himself. When he was chased by others, he had to have a way to escape. Guoguo, you seem to be very anxious about cultivation. Now, Tangwa's 3 meals a day were taken care of by Qingheng. Now that Qingheng could control his innate ability freely, he liked to transform into his human form from time to time and walk among the humans. After learning that Tangwa liked to eat human food, he would buy fresh food for her every meal. The host really didn't deceive this big black fish for nothing. It's really useful. She was considerate, diligent, good-looking, and very obedient. Well, it's because I'm a fish with a dream. Tangwa was serious. She subconsciously touched Qingheng's face and pulled it. Sure enough, it felt good to the touch as always. Not only did Qingheng not resist, he seemed to like her being so intimate with him.
Peak.
Chapter 24:12. Have you heard of the carp leaping over Dragon Gate? Qingheng nodded. Could it be that you want to leap over the Dragon Gate and become an immortal?
Yes.
Then I'll leap over the Dragon Gate with you.
How about that?
That would be the best. However, I still have a very powerful enemy. We'll definitely meet in the future. If you want to be with me, you'll have to work hard to cultivate. My enemy is very powerful. If we're not strong enough, we'll only be beaten to death. I'll protect you. Qingheng looked serious. I'll work hard to cultivate and improve my strength. I'll practice my talent. If I meet Guoguo's enemy in the future, allow me to curse him before we fight. Our chances of winning will be much higher. Qingheng also knew that the more powerful the curse, the stronger the strength needed. The stronger the person, the easier it would be to curse their weakness. To them, Cursing their weakness would be like scratching an itch. Thus, cursing them to die would definitely not work. Thus, he would just curse them to be unlucky. Big black fish, you're getting smarter. Yes, that's it. If I meet anyone in the future, curse them to be unlucky. That way, my chances of winning will be much higher. After receiving the praise, Qing Hung was even more motivated to cultivate. System. How did a stupid blackfish become bad? This is how the host taught it to be bad. What did he mean by cursing the other party to be unlucky before fighting?
How could he do that?
Did he have any shame? As expected of a family, they were all so shameless. In the blink of an eye, a few years had passed. In these few years, Shi was still apprehensive. Even though a few years had passed, he was still worried. After all, the other party was a spiritual monster. Once she knew the truth, it would be terrible. Now, he and Pei Jiren already had a son and a daughter. The relationship between the husband and wife was getting better and better. He liked this kind of life very much. He was afraid that one day such a good life would be ruined by someone. If there was one thing he regretted the most, it would be that year in the temple. He made a promise to Tanghua that he would go back and marry her when he became the top scholar. He really did not expect to meet the person he was destined to meet in a place like Beijing. Yes, his intuition told him that he and Pei Jiren were destined to be together. Pei Jiao was as smart as snow. In fact, she had long realized that Shi had something on his mind. But since Shi didn't want to say it, she couldn't force him to say it. The main thing was that she could easily tell if Shi was telling the truth or not. She guessed that the matter in Shi's heart was definitely not about love. Only then could she be at ease. Especially in a thunderstorm, Shi, who was sleeping beside her, would be easily awakened. Occasionally, he would have nightmares and would call out, "Don't want it," which made her extremely worried. However, Shi was unwilling to tell her. The two of them had always been in love, so she really didn't know how to ask. At this time, Tanghua and Qing Hung had already come out from the bottom of the lake. Her and Qing Heng's strength had reached the limit in the mortal realm. They could not grow any further. If it continued to grow, not only would it attract the attention of the higher-ups, it might even jump out of the human world and go to the heaven realm. In this situation, she did not want to face the two star lords and star officials. She hadn't dealt with Shi yet. Shi had been living a happy life for several years, and it should be over now. "Guagua, where are you going?" "I'm going to take revenge for Su Lang." For some reason, when he heard this, Qing Hung suddenly became nervous.
Who is Su Lang? Peak.
Chapter 24:13. Su Lang. Tanghua paused for a moment, then said in a long voice, Su Lang was a scholar. Later on, he passed the county-level examination and then the provincial-level examination. A few years ago, he came to me and told me that he wanted to enter the capital to take the imperial exam. Many years ago, on the day I met you, the people who caught you talked about Su Lang in the temple. They said that Su Lang was killed by bandits on his way to the capital. With Su Lang's knowledge, if he was not killed, even if he did not become the top scholar, he could still become the second or third scholar. If it were not for those hateful bandits, Su Lang would have come back to marry me after he passed the imperial exam. System very bad. Is that so? Qing Hung felt a little uncomfortable. What kind of person is Su Lang? Does he treat Guagua well? Will he find all kinds of beautiful treasures for Guagua like me? Does he have the ability to protect Guagua? If someone bullies Guagua, will he help Guagua teach them a lesson? System. Ha ha ha. Are you jealous now? Su Lang does not have the ability to go down the lake every day to find treasures for me. Tanghua looked at Qing Heng's relieved expression and said, but he will ask someone to change the water in the water tank every day. Guagua lives in my house now. The lake is so big, and the inside of the barrier is flowing water. There is no need to change it. Su Lang will go down the mountain to buy beautiful clothes and delicious food for me. I will buy Guagua's clothes and 3 meals for you every day. Qing Hung said pitifully, as if he was saying that he could also do these things. He did it himself and did it every day. When it was time for meals, he would send it to her on time. Why do you only remember Su Lang's kindness and not how good this fish is to me? Tangwa coughed and continued, Su Lang will make me happy. Is Guogua not happy living in the lake? Tangwa, happy? Qingheng looked at her in disbelief. Su Lang was just an ordinary person. If he could do it, he could do it. If Su Lang could not do it, he could do it. Su Lang also said that after he passed the imperial exam, he will come back and marry me. Qingheng's face was about to fall. I can do it too. I don't need any scholarly honors. What did you say? Tangwa glanced at Qingheng. What did you say? I can marry you too. Guogua, you're a red carp and I'm a black carp. There are no racial boundaries. As the ancient saying goes, when humans and demons fall in love, one of them has to make a sacrifice. Either the human becomes a demon, or the demon has to give up on cultivation and sever its ties with the human. When it starts cultivating again in the future, it will also be a heavy price to pay. But we are different. Red carp and black carp are really the best match, and we are both talented fish. Qingheng was very serious. I can't think of anyone in this world who is more compatible than us. Su Lang is a mere mortal. If he can't protect Guogua in any danger, I can. Guogua wants revenge. He can't help you, but I can. Guogua wants to leap over the dragon gate and become an immortal, but she can't live forever. Su Lang can't accompany you, but I can. Tangwa could not help but ask, Big Black Carp, are you really a few thousand years old? I think you are just a small fish that has been around for a few decades. A few years ago, you wanted to be my grandfather, and now you want to marry me. Qingheng did not know what to say. His eyes suddenly lit up and he finally said, Su Lang has a lot of concerns, but my world only has you. Chapter 24:14. Even if I can't marry you, you're the only one in my world. Anyone who heard such pure and serious words would not have the heart to tease him anymore.
Tangwa was the same.
She smiled faintly and looked at him with curved eyes. I know. I'm just going to avenge Su Lang so that his promise is not in vain. I don't have any other intentions. Qingheng's mood improved a lot. All right, I'll go with you. Tangwa took Qingheng to the road to the capital. After walking out of the town for 3 days, they encountered the scene of bandits robbing and killing merchants. At this time, she naturally had to make a move. She killed all the bandits, leaving only the leader alive, and asked him to take her to the mountain top. When she found their stronghold, she put on an act and asked who killed Su Shi. Not to mention that the bandits did not kill Su Shi. Even if they did kill Su Shi, they would take many lives every month. How could they remember? These were all outlaws, the kind who only wanted to get rich by robbing. They were not the kind of bandits with the surname Chung. Not only did they rob, but they also took the women to the mountains as captives and killed all the men. So they were not good people. Tangwa did not have any psychological burden when killing them. In a short 3 days, she took Qingheng to all the nearby strongholds and killed all the bandits. After killing all the bandits, they almost reached the capital. Now that I've avenged Su Lang, let's go to the capital for a stroll. After a while, we'll go back and continue to cultivate. Qingheng saw that Tangwa wasn't sad about the death of the so-called Su Lang. He understood that she was only here to avenge Su Lang, so she probably did not like him very much. Maybe she used to like him, but she definitely did not like him now. He was secretly happy and quickly agreed. When it came to the process, Tangwa calculated the time and waited until the day Su Shi saw her. She asked Qingheng to help her buy things, and she went to the restaurant for a meal. Not long after, even though she was burying her head because she put some of her thoughts upstairs, her strength was much stronger than the original owners at this time. She could easily sense Su Shi's aura. As soon as Su Shi saw her, he subconsciously took a step forward. Someone beside him asked curiously, Prince Consort, what's wrong? No, nothing. Maybe I drank too much just now. Su Shi casually found an excuse and stepped into the room again, pretending to be drunk.
Take a seat first.
Prince Consort, why don't I ask someone to bring a palanquin over? Originally, Su Shi didn't need a palanquin wherever he went. He was not the kind of person who was ostentatious and lofty. Even after becoming the emperor's son-in-law, he still got along well with his old friends. He didn't put on airs, so he was more popular. All right, then get someone to bring me a sedan chair. When the servant heard Sushi say this, he thought that he must be really drunk. If he wasn't drunk, the prince consort wouldn't even be able to sit on the sedan chair a few times a year. The servants hurriedly went to prepare the palanquin. Sushi and his good friend were in the private room. He didn't look too good, which made his good friend very worried. He thought that not only was he drunk, his body could suddenly fall ill. We'll go back to the attached room later. Brother Su, it's better to call a doctor to take your pulse. Don't worry, don't worry. Sushi responded. He knew that his good friend was concerned about him. The other party knew his alcohol tolerance very well. He shouldn't be drunk after drinking that little, so he might as well pretend to be sick. Chapter 24:15. That's right, he had been pretending to be sick and not leaving the residence recently. Now he could ask someone to spread the news that he was sick. No one would find it strange that he suddenly fell sick. Actually, he was shocked and scared. Why did she come to the capital? Did she know that he had lied to her?
No, that couldn't be.
If she really knew the truth, she wouldn't be eating here. She would have gone directly to the princess residence to find trouble with him. So, was it a coincidence that she came to the capital, or was she deliberately investigating something else? Sushi had a vague guess in his heart. Could it be that she knew that he was dead and wanted to find the real murderer to help him take revenge? Thinking of this possibility, Sushi's heart was very complicated. That's right. She once said that she stayed in the temple's water tank to cultivate because she didn't know how far her house was from there. Because with her ability, she couldn't leave the water for too long, or her life would be in danger. The reason why she came to the capital after so many years was probably because her ability was enough to survive on land and her life wouldn't be in danger because of lack of water. The more he thought, the more complicated and panicked Sushi's heart was. The complicated thing was that she actually came to help him take revenge. This was something he didn't expect. The panic thing was that as long as they met, the lie would be exposed. Now that she was so powerful, who knew what would happen if she knew the truth? Thinking of his beloved princess and his pair of adorable children, Sushi's heart was very confused. No matter what, he absolutely couldn't meet her. Halfway, Sushi used the excuse of going to the toilet and secretly glanced downstairs. Seeing that Tangguo was still eating in the hall, he nervously came back. From time to time, he used the excuse of going to the toilet. His friends completely believed that there was something wrong with his body. Because of this, Sushi simply used the excuse that his stomach wasn't feeling well. The servants had already found a palanquin, but because Tangguo was downstairs, he didn't dare to go down. Tangguo was almost done eating. She guessed that Sushi was basically frightened by her appearance. She noticed that he was peeking at her from time to time. His heart was beating faster, his face was pale, and his eyes were flustered. Her appearance this time was enough. When Tangguo left the hall, Sushi was completely exhausted. As if he had been drowned, his forehead was full of sweat. The servants and his friends were frightened. Seeing that Sushi was no longer going to the toilet, they hurriedly helped him into the sedan. After returning to the princess's residence, Sushi was really sick this time. His illness was not light, and there was no need to pretend anymore. It was also because Tangguo stayed in the living room for a much longer period of time than in the script. She even released her aura from time to time, which gave Sushi pressure and made him sick. Sushi fell seriously ill for more than half a month. His illness this time had frightened the Su family and the entire princess residence. Pei Jiren was still the emperor's most beloved princess. Knowing that Sushi was seriously ill, she even sent an imperial physician to stay in the princess residence to treat him. This illness took about a month to recover. During this period, Sushi did not forget to instruct his confidant to investigate Tangguo. He only knew that Tangguo was strolling around the capital every day. It didn't seem like she was looking for him, but he didn't dare to let his guard down. It wasn't until he found out that all the bandits on the road from the capital to his old town had died inexplicably that he came to a realization. Vertex. Chapter 24:16. She was indeed here to avenge him. Now that she had avenged him, she was probably curious about the capital and wanted to stay for a while longer. Sushi thought that his guess was right and ordered people to keep an eye on the city gate. If Tangwa left and did not return, he was to inform her. They did not have to wait for long. Tangwa thought that it was about time and brought Qingheng out of the city gate. On the day that Sushi found out, he felt refreshed and relieved. He thought that he did not have to worry anymore. Tangwa would definitely not return. She believed that he was dead, and she avenged him. The fate between the two of them was broken. Pei Jiaran also realized that after Sushi fell ill, he seemed to have let go of something. It was as if he had let go of the things in his heart. Although she did not know what was going on, Pei Jiaran was relieved. Not long after Tangwa and Qingheng left the capital, they were stopped by someone. This person was obviously burly, but he wore a Taoist robe and held a horsetail whisk in his hand. He pretended to be a profound person, but he did not have the aura of an expert at all. He looked very out of place. He stopped Tangwa and Qingheng with his horsetail whisk and smiled at Tangwa. Do you think that your fate with the mortal world is over? Do you think that you can become an immortal and attain the Tao just by leaving and concentrating on cultivation?
How naive.
It was very difficult for demons to attain the Tao and become an immortal. They either cultivated hard for thousands of years or met with a fortuitous encounter. The luckiest was to be chosen by an immortal and be recommended to become an immortal servant or a mount of an immortal. Any proud demon would not be willing to be ordered around by others, even if it was an immortal. But there were also those who did not care about these things in order to attain the Tao and become an immortal. Everyone had their own ideas. What nonsense are you talking about? Tangwa did not seem to believe the Taoist's words. You ugly Taoist, what nonsense are you talking about? The Taoist's expression turned slightly ferocious, but he still controlled himself and continued. You came to the capital this time to avenge someone? The Taoist thought that when he said this, Tangwa would be shocked and ask him how he knew about it. Then he would be able to tell her what he wanted to say. He would tell her that Sushi had deceived her and asked someone to spread false news of his death. Only then would he be able to marry the high and mighty princess and enjoy a life of luxury. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, Tangwa sent him flying with a slap on his face. You stinky Taoist priest, how dare you spy on my whereabouts? The Taoist priest was the Black Bear spirit band tie in disguise. He really did not understand what he had said wrong to be sent flying by the other party's sleeve. He wanted to explain, but Tangwa had already chased after him and sent him flying with a kick. She kicked him directly into a tree trunk, making him dizzy and his eyes a little blurry. He then heard her say, You Taoist priest, you secretly followed me. Are you up to no good? Tell me, do you want to rape me or kill the fish for its inner core?
No.
This was different from what he had imagined. Big black fish, help me beat him up. Beat him hard. He covets my beauty and spies on my whereabouts. I don't know what he wants to do. Anyway, he must be up to no good. Let's beat him up first. Qingheng naturally listened to Tangwa. He rolled up his sleeves and hit Bantai, who was about to explain. Big black fish, if there is such a person who covets me and bullies me in the future, you can beat him up like this. Don't think about anything. Just beat him up. Qingheng quickly nodded. I will remember. System, you've taught him the wrong things. After a long time, Tangwa asked Qingheng to stop. She crossed her arms and looked down at Bantai, who had been beaten up like a pig's head. Tell me honestly, why are you spying on my whereabouts? Don't lie. If you lie, I will throw you to feed the fish.
Peek.
Chapter 24:17. At this moment, Bantai felt pain all over his body. Before he could say anything, he tried to stop the fish. Unexpectedly, he was beaten up by the fish. Even though he was fuming with anger, he did not forget his task. Bantai cried out in pain. Thinking of how violent the fish was, not only did it beat him up, but it also called for help. Fearing that the other party would be impatient, Bantai quickly told him his purpose. I didn't peek into the secrets of heaven by chance. I know that you, the carp spirit, are involved with a mortal named Sushi. Now you have to go back and concentrate on your cultivation. Do you know that Sushi is not dead at all? If Sushi is not dead, the mortal bond between you is not broken. If you accidentally find out about this, it will give birth to inner demons. Won't it affect your cultivation? I was just reminding you out of kindness. I didn't expect that you, the unreasonable carp spirit, would attack me as soon as you came up. If I had known this, I wouldn't have spoken. Bantai's appearance was very realistic. At first glance, there seemed to be no loopholes. Don't talk about the original owner who was pure and didn't know how to beat around the bush. Even if it was someone with a high IQ, even if it was someone as smart as Snow, if they knew that the person they thought was dead wasn't dead, and that they had even avenged him, they probably wouldn't be able to remain calm. Once his mind was in a mess and he became excited, he would subconsciously ignore many details. He just wanted to turn around and figure it out. You said that Sushi is not dead? Tangwa pretended to be surprised and looked a little incredulous, which made Bantai feel relieved. He even stroked his pitiful beard with his big palm, but he did not know that such a gesture would make people laugh. Not only is Sushi not dead, but he is also living a happy life now. Only a pure little spirit like you would believe those lies. Bantai did not know who the mysterious person was, but the other party helped him heal his injuries, which would have taken him hundreds of years to recover, in an instant. Not only that, but he also gave him a lot of benefits. In fact, after being seriously injured by his enemy, even if he hated Sushi for robbing him of the opportunity, he knew that the lifespan of a mortal was only a few decades. At most, he could only live for hundreds of years. It was basically impossible for him to take revenge. Before he met that mysterious man, he had never thought of finding trouble with this carp demon. Spiritual monsters cultivated freedom according to the law of the jungle. Treasures that grew in the mountains would belong to whoever was stronger. Just take this wisdom fruit tree, for example. Didn't he snatch it from other spiritual monsters? But now that he had come out and had the help of the mysterious man, he had the strength to deal with the carp spirit. Naturally, he would not let Sushi and the carp spirit go. The mysterious man easily healed his injuries and gave him all kinds of treasures, including a fruit of wisdom. Not only did he make up for all his losses, but he also made a profit. The mysterious man wanted him to destroy the relationship between Sushi and Princess Pei Jiren. He also said that if he succeeded, he would give him another great opportunity. There was no reason for him to not agree. Even if he had to curry favor with the mysterious man for the sake of his benefits, he had to do it perfectly. He also vaguely understood the meaning of a mysterious person. As long as he could destroy the marriage between Sushi and Pei Jiren, it wouldn't matter even if he had to kill Sushi. This reminder made Bantai even happier. In that case, he could kill both of them. After all, they were the ones who snatched his wisdom fruit first. He had a reason to kill them. Chapter 24:18. You're lying. Su Lang was killed by bandits. Of course, Tangwa can't just listen to Bantai and believe his words. In the eyes of humans, the black bear's spirit should be very clumsy. In fact, it was the opposite. The black bear's spirit, who had no moral integrity and was like a fence-sitter, was actually very smart. If she believed him directly, he would be suspicious. As for the grudge between her and the black bear spirit, it could not be resolved. Regardless of whether it was the scheme of the two Lord of Stars or not, it was the black bear spirit who killed the original owner of her body. It was impossible for her not to take revenge. Besides, the black bear spirit was probably thinking about how to kill her. In the plot, after the black bear spirit killed the original owner of her body, he devoured her spiritual power and dug out her inner core. How could she let him go? Bantai felt that the surroundings were cold. That cold feeling was like a sharp knife that was about to pierce his heart. But when he tried to catch it, there was nothing left. He looked up. The sun was still high in the sky, and the surroundings were still hot. He subconsciously looked at Tangwa and saw that she was frowning. Obviously, she suspected that he was lying. He remembered that something was wrong. The one in front of him was a carp spirit. Carp spirits should live in the water. According to the mysterious man, the carp spirit's strength should be similar to his. But the mysterious man gave him many elixirs. As long as he took them every day and focused on cultivation, it would not take long for him to surpass the carp spirit. It would be easy for him to suppress the carp spirit. Mainly, the mysterious man only ordered him to destroy the carp spirit. Obviously, the carp spirit in front of him was more powerful. Otherwise, under such a hot sun, the other party should feel uncomfortable. But she did not look uncomfortable at all. It was obvious that she was more powerful than the mysterious man said. And the man in black beside her. The mysterious man did not say that she had other people with her. Although he could feel that the other party was not human, he could not see through the other party's body. It was obvious that the other party's strength was not below his. So, if he wanted to kill the carp spirit, he had to be stronger than the two of them. Black Bear carefully pondered and felt that this matter could not be rushed. First, he would sow discord between Su Shi and Pei Jiren. Then, he would go to the mysterious man and ask for some treasures to deal with the two of them. Then, he would find an opportunity to burn them to death. Although he didn't know who this black-clothed man was, he could tell from the faintly discernible aura of water that he should be a spirit that lived in the water. Dealing with the monsters in the water was the easiest. After tying them up and burning them with alchemic fire for a while, there would be nothing left. The black bear's spirit thought that he had concealed it well, but he did not expect that Tangwa had already noticed the flash of ferocity in his eyes. "You're just a little carp demon. What good would it do for me to lie to you?" Bantai snorted coldly and said angrily, "I only helped you out of kindness because I thought that it wasn't easy for you to cultivate and that you haven't done anything evil. If you don't believe me, come with me to the princess residence and we'll know if it's true." At this time, Tangwa naturally took advantage of the situation and said, "Okay, then I'll go with you to the princess residence. If you're lying, I'll make you suffer." Chapter 24:19. Bantai brought Tangwa and Xingheng to the princess's residence. When the three of them arrived at the princess's residence, they directly jumped onto the wall and happened to see Su Shi talking and laughing with Pei Jiren in the courtyard. Pei Jiren was painting, and Su Shi seemed to be helping her grind the ink. The two of them were in perfect harmony. After being married for so many years, their feelings for each other did not fade. Instead, they became more and more inseparable. Su Shi was also relieved because he thought that Tangwa would never come back when she left the capital. Now that he was with Pei Jiren, he no longer had any psychological burden. From his smile, there was satisfaction, joy, and happiness. "Look, isn't that the Su you're looking for? I didn't lie to you, did I?" Bantai had been observing Tangwa's expression. When he saw that she kept staring at Su Shi without blinking, he knew that she was angry. "You unreasonable carp spirit, look. If I didn't remind you, who knows where you would go to cry if something went wrong with your cultivation in the future because of this mortal." Tangwa retracted her gaze and looked at Bantai's face. "Then I have to thank you for reminding me. There's no need for that. I just don't like people like you, who are fickle and ungrateful. Su Shi owes you a debt of gratitude. Back then, he promised that he would come back to marry you and grow old together with you. Who would have thought that he would be blinded by wealth after coming to this bustling capital? He forgot about his promise and almost affected your cultivation. I just couldn't stand it and reminded you." Bantai sighed and said, "You already know the truth of the matter. It's up to you what you want to do. The mortal fate between the two of you is endless. If you can't let go of this matter, it will be detrimental to your cultivation." He was instigating Tangwa to kill Su Shi. "Thank you for your kindness, Taoist priest. I just saw that you looked wretched and didn't look like a good person. I thought you were a lecherous lecher, so I came up and beat you up." Tangwa said apologetically, but in fact, her words were enough to anger several people to death. Bantai almost could not help but transform into his true form and attack. What did he mean by saying he looked wretched and did not look like a good person? Did he think he was a lecher? This carp demon was really annoying. He had to think of a way to kill her and dig out her inner core for cultivation. Qing Hung felt the malice from Bantai and subconsciously shielded Tangwa behind him. His actions brought Bantai back to his senses. He leaped down from the wall and said, "You guys settle it yourselves. Each of you has your own methods. I'll leave first." In order to make Tangwa believe that he was really an expert, he even used the earth shrinking technique. Just this movement technique alone would cost him quite a bit of demonic power.
He didn't go far.
Instead, he chose a place to wait for things to happen. At that time, regardless of whether Tangwa captured Su Shi or killed Su Shi or the princess, he would definitely have a chance to make a move. He had already thought of the plan long ago. He was just waiting for everything to develop according to his plan. Tangwa did not disappoint Bantai. After he left, she did not go down directly, because she felt a pair of pitiful eyes like a stray dog. Guagua, he's a liar. This kind of shameless human who is full of lies, fickle-minded, and greedy for wealth is not worthy of you. He married the princess of the mortal world and has 2 children. Qing Hung said a few words nervously. He was afraid that Tangwa was angry, and he was even more afraid that she had not forgotten Su Shi. Chapter 24:20. When Qing Hung said this, he became even more nervous. He had lived for many years. Since he was young, the other fish and shrimp clans in the lake were not willing to play with him. They called him the big demon fish, thinking that he was unlucky and evil. So after he could transform, he often went to the human world to wander around. He often heard that the men in the human world were mostly heartless. Even if they had a wife who had gone through hardships, obedient children, and a wife who had done nothing wrong, once they became successful, the first thing they would do was to abandon their hardships and marry someone who was beautiful or had a good family background. So, he was not surprised that Su Shi forgot his promise and climbed up to the princess. Even if he thought that Su Shi was at a disadvantage because Guoguo was the prettiest, the thoughts of humans and demons were different. In other words, humans were too rich, and there were too many things that could captivate their eyes. Big black fish, what are you thinking about? Tangwa laughed. I'm not a fool. I already know that he deliberately sent those people back a few years ago to spread the news that he was killed by the bandits. When I know that he's dead, I won't ruin his marriage, and he can enjoy his wealth in peace. Qing Hung breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that you know. This kind of person is not worth it. After saying this, he changed the topic. Guagua, what do you want to do with him? Do you want to secretly kill him? System. You've indeed learned bad things. Tangwa held Qing Heng's wrist and shook her head. Look carefully. What's different about Su Shi? If you kill him on the spot, guess what will happen? Qing Heng listened to Tangwa's words and carefully observed Su Shi. With one look, he realized that something was wrong. There's a special light on his body. Qing Heng frowned. He seems to have an extraordinary background. Not only that, if you rashly kill him, in less than 3 days, the 2 of us may be hunted down by the 3 realms. At this time, she still couldn't kill Su Shi. She didn't have the right to do so. Even if the other party changed his mind, no matter where he was, people would say that even if he let her down, he didn't hurt her life. He just had a change of heart and didn't deserve to die. Regardless of whether it was the mythological world, the ancient world, or the modern future world, these words were all the same. Although he couldn't directly kill Su Shi, it was still possible to scheme against him. Don't those 2 old things like to scheme against others? In that case, she would beat him at his own game and make this fire even more intense. The injuries of Bantai's black bear spirit were healed by the 9 Brilliance Star official. What happened after that was basically instructed by the 9 Brilliance Star official to do it. She just needed to wait for things to develop slowly and pretend that she was already in the game. The 9 Luminary Star official must have vaguely reminded Bantai that as long as he could destroy the relationship between Su Shi and Pei Jiren, he could kill both of them. With such an opportunity, Bantai would definitely not let go of Su Shi. She was waiting for Bantai to make a move on Su Shi, and then Pei Jiren would beg her to save Su Shi. Military Star thought that she was infatuated with Su Shi and would come to help him. Then, he would leave the matter alone. Then, that day happened to be the day when the carp leaped over the dragon gate, and she was reborn. Turning back to save Su, she was wishful thinking. A day in heaven is a year on earth. Even if Military Star wanted to come down and save Su-Shi, it would be impossible. Su-Shi's death was due to the 9 Brilliant Star Lord scheme. When the time came, these two would definitely fall out. Chapter 24-21. Although Su-Shi and Pei Jiren had failed the test, they would eventually find out that it was the two of them who had sabotaged it. They would definitely act shamelessly. Even if they were to make a scene in front of the Celestial Emperor, they would not be afraid. As she thought about it, Tangwa could not help but laugh out loud. She was especially happy when she thought about how the Celestial Realm would be in a mess because of these two families. Qingheng looked at her in confusion, but he did not have the time to ask anything. Because Tangwa's laughter was transmitted to the courtyard, Pei Jiren, who was painting, and Su-Shi, who was grinding ink, heard it. The two of them subconsciously looked up. Pei Jiren did not understand why there were two handsome people on the walls of her princess residence. She was about to call for someone to capture and chase them away. She inadvertently caught a glimpse of Su-Shi's pale face, and the tip of her brush paused. The painting that was about to be completed was almost destroyed. Prince Consort, what's wrong? Su-Shi came back to his senses and hurriedly shielded Pei Jiren behind him. He faced Tangwa and moved his lips, but did not know what to say. His mind was in a mess. Didn't she leave the capital immediately? Why did she turn back? Did she find out something? What exactly went wrong? Why did he come here directly? Su-Shi's mind spun quickly. First of all, he could not lie. If the other party could find this place, it meant that she knew everything. He took a deep breath. Just as he was about to say something, Tangwa jumped down from the wall. She easily grabbed Su-Shi's collar. What a scene of a loving husband and wife, a scene of a celestial couple. Su-Shi, you have a beautiful wife and wealth.
You have a promise to me.
You sent someone back to say that you were attacked by bandits. I really believed it and did not hesitate to kill all the bandits on the road from the capital to the town. Who knew that it was all a lie? Su-Shi had already calmed down. Who are you? Let go of the prince consort. Pei Jiren had already reacted and hurriedly shouted. However, Tangwa had already jumped out with Su-Shi and landed beside Qingheng. She said softly, "Let's go." In the blink of an eye, Tangwa was gone. Pei Jiren was crying anxiously on the spot. At this moment, she was no longer as calm and intelligent as she usually was. She was in a complete mess. Everyone in the princess's residence went to look for the prince consort. This incident caused a huge commotion. When Pei Jiren finally reacted, she hurriedly entered the palace and told the emperor about Su-Shi's capture. She asked the emperor to help find Su-Shi. When the Su family found out about this, they were also in a mess. This matter was not concealed. Soon, all the people in the capital knew that Su-Shi had been captured by the spiritual monsters. As for why they had spread out so quickly, it was naturally because of Bante, who was hiding at the side. Tangwa had already expected this. Not long after the news spread, she arranged for people to spread the story between her and Su-Shi. In just half a day, the entire capital knew that the current emperor's son-in-law had such a fate with spirits. It was no wonder that he had been captured. Who asked him to be taken care of by the spirit? He had made a promise but failed to keep it in the end. Bante did not care about Su-Shi's reputation. As long as everyone knew that Su-Shi had been captured by the spirit, it was fine. Now, as long as he showed a little bit of his ability, the anxious emperor and Pei Jiren would definitely ask him to catch the spirit and save the person. Everything that happened after that was as he expected. The emperor had seen his ability. When he saw that he was given the title of state preceptor, he ordered him to find Su-Shi's whereabouts and kill the carp spirit at the same time. At this moment, Su-Shi had been captured by Tangwa and brought to a mountain. Chapter 24-22. Big Black Fish, help me hang him up on that tree. Tangwa leaned against a bluestone. Beside the blue stone was a small lake. It was really small, not as big as the one on Qingheng's side. However, it turned out that Sushi was caught here, because this was the place where she used to cultivate. Since she had already decided that things would happen according to the original plot, she had to catch Sushi here. Of course, Sushi did not have it as good as in the original plot. Sushi let her down, so it was reasonable for her to be angry. This time, she was waiting for Bantai to bring Pei Jiren up to find him. Then she would put on a show and release Sushi. Bantai wanted to drive a wedge between them, and she wanted to do the same. She could not let them be so lovey-dovey after being schemed against for no reason. Qingheng saw that Tangwa did not seem to care about Sushi's life and death. Instead, she was more of a tease. He could feel that Tangwa did not like Sushi anymore. Therefore, when he tied Sushi up, he used some strength so that Sushi had some difficulty breathing. He knew that this time, he had a slim chance of survival. After all, he provoked a spiritual monster, not some strange person from an ordinary family. He had long regretted making a promise to the spiritual monster. Similarly, he felt much more relaxed when Tangwa did not attack Pei Jiren. As long as she did not argue with Pei Jiren, he could slowly think of a way to make her let him go. Tangwa knew exactly what Sushi was thinking, but she did not intend to expose him. Who was the one who said that scholars were stupid and blockheads? In fact, scholars were much more sophisticated than ordinary people. Everyone would know that something was wrong when they met a beauty in the mountains. Why were there still so many scholars willing to go to the front and think about it with the spiritual monster? Wasn't it because they were obsessed with beauty? When he was found out one day, he could still use the excuse that he was bewitched by the spiritual monster. Scholars were also men. How many men could remain unmoved in the face of beauty? Guaper, I know that I let you down. Qingheng had already hung Sushi up. Not only did he hang him up, but he also hung him upside down. The rope was already tight, and now that he was hanging upside down, it made him dizzy. But at this time, he had to say a few words. Otherwise, he did not know what she would do. He was not afraid because he had been with her for so many years. He knew that she was not a bad person. On the contrary, she was very kind. The fact that he didn't kill Zhang Xian in the princess residence without losing his temper meant that he had no intention of killing him. The matter could no longer be concealed. Instead of finding an excuse to absolve himself of the crime, he might as well admit the fact that he had a change of heart. If he was honest in front of her, he might be able to turn the situation around. To see, Sushi said with a pained expression.
Peak.
Chapter 24-23. I thought that instead of telling you the truth, I might as well get someone to send the news of my death back. You once said that when my lifespan ends, it will be the end of our fate. If you know that I'm dead, then you can concentrate on cultivating and become an immortal as soon as possible. She did not mention Pei Jiren at all in this sentence. He only mentioned that everything was for her own good. He was afraid that if she knew about this, it would affect her cultivation, so he came up with this plan. At first glance, it seemed like he was really thinking for her. But when she thought about it carefully, it was a little ridiculous. If he was really thinking for her good and was sincere to her, why would he change his mind so quickly? Even if he changed his mind and fell in love with someone else, although the two of them had verbally promised to grow old together, they were not engaged yet. He did not even try and gave up the opportunity to clarify things with her. If her identity was not a spiritual monster, but a rich young lady, things would not be like this. In the end, Sushi was bullying a spiritual monster who did not understand the customs of the human world. According to what he said, after the man cheated, he had another woman and hid the identity of his legal wife. Wasn't a reason for it to be official, and he was afraid that she would be sad? Thinking about it a little deeper, it was a joke. Tangwa glanced at Sushi. You admit that you fell in love with someone else? Sushi did not expect Tangwa to ask this question. For a moment, he did not know what to say. At this point, he could only nod. Yes, it's all my fault. I couldn't help but be attracted to another woman and forgot my promise to Guober. Since Su Lang had a change of heart, why didn't you send someone back to explain things to me? She did not know how to explain. He could not say that he was afraid that she would cause trouble for Peijiren, right? She was a spiritual monster after all. Even if he knew that she was pure and did not have any bad intentions, when it came to relationships, if he angered her and she really did something to Peijiren, how could he protect the woman he loved? She knew that he could not explain it, and he could not explain it like this. If he explained to another woman that he cared about the person he loved and was afraid that the person he loved would be hurt, no matter how pure a woman was, she would be angered. When Tangwa saw the look on his face, she immediately understood. She sensed something and made up his mind, saying, I was foolish. I thought that this would be the best of both worlds and would not hurt anyone. Now that I think about it, I was wrong. If I could turn back time, I would definitely come back and apologize to you personally.
You can do whatever you want with me.
This she was indeed smart. When he noticed Tangwa's attitude, he immediately changed the words he had prepared earlier. He didn't dare to mention that he was afraid that Peijiren would get hurt. Capture me here today and didn't hurt my wife and children. I'm very grateful. Everything was because she was possessed and deceived two women who loved me deeply. Is innocent. My wife and children are also innocent. She was very grateful that did not hurt them. If is still angry because I hid something from you, then kill me.
She made such a mistake.
His death is not to be regretted. Can do whatever she wants with him. After saying that, she closed his eyes. His righteous look was very realistic. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been moved by him. People who were not afraid of death and were honest about their mistakes would always be respected and even forgiven. He really did not understand. Shouldn't he admit his mistakes? Why would he be respected and forgiven? Chapter 24. She was actually very nervous.
Death. Who would want to die?
He still wanted to grow old with Peijiren. They had already promised each other that they would grow old together. Even though the two of them had been married for several years and already had a pair of children, they had always felt that it was not enough no matter how much time they spent together. Although growing old together was good, they were actually greedy and wanted to live together forever. If he died here today, he would never be able to see Jaren and his children again. If he gambled correctly, he would really be able to sleep peacefully after today. He would not have to worry about Tangwa finding trouble with him. He was still very clear about Tangwa's personality. She vaguely felt that a particularly cold gaze was looking at him, but at this time, he did not dare to open his eyes to look. He was still waiting for Tangwa's answer. Would she kill him or let him go? You have indeed let me down. Hearing this, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that she would not take his life anymore. I won't kill you. Tangwa's voice continued. You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. Since you admit that you have let me down, I will let you hang here for 7 days and 7 nights as punishment. After 7 days and 7 nights, you can leave. We will break all ties and no longer owe each other anything.
How about that?
Although he would be hung for 7 days and 7 nights, she had already said that she would not let him die no matter what. He quickly replied, she is willing to accept the punishment. All right, don't worry. I said that I won't take your life, so I won't. You should know that there are many obstacles in spiritual cultivation. You are the one who let me down. I have a wave of anger in my heart that needs to be vented. If I don't vent it, it will affect my cultivation in the future. If I fail in my cultivation in the future, my inner demons will breed, and I will lose my will. Perhaps I will blame all of this on your family. You should have read all kinds of miscellaneous books about spiritual monsters. Spiritual monsters who have lost their minds do not distinguish between good and evil. They will only remove their own obstacles. I am punishing you like this for our own good. I don't want to fail in my cultivation. Fortunately, we also have happy days. I also don't want to lose my mind in the future and kill everyone related to you. Hearing this, she was really scared to death. He didn't doubt Tangwa's words at all. Otherwise, Why didn't she just kill him or let him go? Why did she only hang him for 7 days and 7 nights? I am willing to accept your punishment. This is something that I should accept. Now, even if Tangwa didn't want him to suffer, he had to beg her to. If she really failed in her cultivation because of his betrayal and developed an inner demon, then not only would his beloved and children suffer, even his Su family and friends would suffer. She had said that when the time came, it would implicate the people related to him. Qing Heng's expression was a little strange. Why hadn't he heard of such a situation? He stole a glance at Tangwa. Seeing that she was smiling, he continued, "Not only that, I want you to admit your mistakes for the next 7 days and nights. Only then will the resentment in my heart dissipate. 7 days and 7 nights should be enough for the resentment in my heart to dissipate." After 7 days and 7 nights, Pei Jiaran had more or less found this place. Let the other parties see how Su Shi repents to her. She didn't intend to break them up. She just wanted to give them some trouble and discomfort. Seeing that Su Shi didn't understand, Tangwa walked in front of him. "You just need to keep repeating that you let me down. It's your fault. Apologize to me now."
Peak.
Chapter 24-25. Guaer, I've let you down. It's my fault. I'm apologizing to you. Guaer, I've let you down. It's my fault. I'm apologizing to you. Guaer, I've let you down. Su Shi had been hanging there for 5 days already. In these 5 days, he was willing to say this sentence every day. Other than making him say this sentence and hanging him on the tree, she really didn't do anything. She just sat cross-legged on the green rock and cultivated. Regarding this, Su Shi firmly believed Tangwa's words without a doubt. If she really wanted to kill him, why did she have to go through so much trouble? Guaer really wanted to solve this matter so that it wouldn't give birth to inner demons in the future and hurt the people around him. When he thought in this way, a wisp of guilt arose in Su Shi's heart. He couldn't help but speak louder and more sincerely. "Guaer, I'm sorry. I've let you down. It's my fault. I sincerely apologize to you here." Qing Heng opened his eyes and glanced at Su Shi. He felt that this person was sick. He was tortured like this, and was still willing to do it without any complaints. On second thought, if Guaer wanted to do this to him, he probably wouldn't be able to resist, and would only want to do as she said. "Big black fish, black Su Lang, feed him some water and food. No matter what, you can't let his life be in danger." Tangwa's voice wasn't soft. When Su Shi heard this, he felt very complicated. As expected, Guaer couldn't bear to kill him. That was why she used this method to resolve the resentment in her heart. It was his fault. If he knew Guaer was so understanding, he wouldn't have lied. He would have just gone back and apologized to her. With Guaer's personality, she would definitely let him and Jiaran be together. "System, you're so stupid. Didn't you realize that the host was messing with him?" Qing Heng took a bowl of water and a piece of raw meat and walked in front of Su Shi. He cut the raw meat into small pieces and stuffed it into Su Shi's mouth. Su Shi felt a little nauseous when he smelled the raw meat. But these days he had been eating this every day. Just as he was about to throw up, Tangwa's voice rang out, "Big black fish, and I don't know how to cook human food. This meat is the most tender meat that I asked Big Black Fish to pick out, so just eat it. The fruits in this mountain haven't ripened yet. Besides, the fruits aren't nutritious and won't last long. We'll just eat this meat to get through the next 7 days." Su Shi hurriedly closed his eyes and bit into the meat. The meat was indeed tender, but the goat's smell was too strong, making him want to vomit. In any case, he had adapted to it for 5 days, so he was barely able to swallow it. After the meal, Su Shi was almost a little weak. In the evening, Tangwa allowed him to rest for the night. He didn't have to say that sentence again, so he closed his eyes and went to sleep. Although it was really uncomfortable to be hung upside down, he calculated the time. There were still 2 more days, so his heart slowly relaxed. "I love the pastries from Hibiscus Bakery the most. They're so delicious." Tangwa, who was hiding in the distance, was eating the pastries from Hibiscus Bakery that Qing Heng bought for her with a smile. She was eating with relish, and her face was full of smiles. Seeing her smile so happily, Qingheng also smiled. Thinking that Sushi was fed raw meat every day, which was the goat that he specially picked out with the strongest smell, Qingheng felt much better. Guobo likes it. I'll buy it for you tomorrow. Okay, I like it. Big black fish. When you come back, remember to hide the pastries well.
Don't let that guy see it.
Guagua, don't worry. If I don't let him see it, he won't see it. If you want to eat something, just tell me. It won't take long to go back and forth. System. How should I say it? The system looked at the round moon hanging in the sky and couldn't help but sigh. Good night, good night, good night to spread dog food. Chapter 24-26. Finally, it was the 7th day. Even if Sushi was still alive, he had been tormented badly and had lost a lot of weight. Especially when he had to eat raw meat that was full of the smell of sheep every day, it made his abdomen very uncomfortable. He felt nauseous when he thought of the smell. But in order to survive, he had to close his eyes and swallow. When he saw the sun rise from the horizon, he felt as if a huge rock had been lifted from his heart. After today, he would be free and would not have to be afraid anymore. Qingheng put Sushi down and let him rest. Tanggua's voice made Sushi feel energetic. Even if he knew that this was to end their mortal relationship, after so many days, he was still a little upset. Now that he heard Tanggua's worried words, the resentment that rose in his heart disappeared instantly. Gua was also helpless. If she really wanted to kill him and torture him, there were countless ways. Why did she have to do this? Gua was also afraid that it would give birth to inner demons in the future and hurt him and the people around him. There was still one more day, so he would just bear with it. In the future, there would really be no involvement between them. He would be fine and she would be fine. Today is the last day. Sushi, stand under the tree and apologize to me. After 7 days of sincere apology, most of the depression in my heart has dissipated. However, the depression has not dissipated completely. Even if there is a little left, it will affect my cultivation in the future. It is easy to give birth to inner demons and make me lose my mind. I will do something that I regret. Sushi was convinced and quickly nodded. Now that he did not have to hang upside down, it was not very tiring to stand and say these words. Even if he had to say it for 7 days, his throat was a little sore. In order to be at ease in the future, he was still willing to apologize to Tanggua. Tanggua was still sitting cross-legged on the bluestone. Her eyes were slightly lowered, and Sushi could not see her expression. He knew that she should be cultivating. At the same time, listening to his apology dispelled the depression in her heart. Thinking of this, he apologized even more vigorously. When Bantai brought Page Yuran here, they heard Sushi's voice from afar. When she got closer, she heard what Sushi said. In recent days, Page Yuran had heard countless stories about Sushi and the carp demon. She originally thought that someone was spouting nonsense to tarnish her husband's reputation. Now, she heard Sushi apologizing to Tanggua personally and saying that he had let her down. Every word he said was so sincere. Page Yuran stood there, not knowing whether she should take a step forward or back. For the past 7 days, she had been very worried about him. She couldn't eat and had lost a lot of weight. Every day, he would go to the imperial tutor to ask about the situation. He wanted to save him as soon as possible. She had always thought that they were like old friends at first sight, that they only had each other. Unexpectedly, before this, he had a predestined relationship with a carp demon. She could feel that Sushi liked her, but she couldn't accept that Sushi had liked someone else before. However, it was absolutely impossible for her to give up on Sushi just like that. Sushi didn't know that Page Yuran had arrived, but Tanggua did. When she saw Page Yuran's expression, she knew that Page Yuran was imagining things. She didn't think that what happened now would make Page Yuran give up on Sushi. These two were deeply in love. She didn't want to break them up. She just wanted to create some trouble and annoy them.
Peak.
Chapter 24-27. Pei Jiren quickly reacted and took a deep breath. She walked over with Bantai and quickly ran to Sushi's position. Sushi was caught off guard, and someone jumped into his arms. He subconsciously wanted to push her away, but he suddenly felt that this person was familiar. He looked down and saw that Pei Jiren's eyes were red. There were a few drops of hot tears at the corner of her eyes. "Are you all right?" She felt pity for her. "I'm fine. Why are you here?" "I was captured by the carp spirit. Of course, I have to come to find you. We are husband and wife. How can I just sit here and do nothing after being captured? I brought the state preceptor here. He is very powerful and can suppress evil and capture demons. Prince Consort, come with me. Let the state preceptor deal with the carp spirit." Pei Jiren subconsciously ignored the scene just now. She also subconsciously ignored Sushi and Tangwa's apology. She didn't want to believe that the other party was a carp spirit. Why not let the state preceptor capture or destroy it? She would pretend that she didn't know anything. Those outside were all rumors. Those people deliberately slandered the reputation of the prince consort. The prince consort was captured by the carp spirit because it wanted to eat the prince consort to cultivate. Since ancient times, in the stories of countless demons and ghosts, weren't there many demons who liked to cultivate by eating humans? Yes, this carp spirit wanted to eat the prince consort to cultivate. It had nothing to do with the prince consort. It was also not like the rumors outside. "State preceptor, I'll have to trouble you to get rid of this demon." Pei Jiren grabbed Sushi's arm and was about to leave. The people she brought protected the two of them. She turned back and said to Bantai. Bantai complained in his heart. He didn't dare to go against Tangwa at all. The reason why he took 7 days to bring Pei Jiren up was that if he didn't find Sushi, the emperor and Pei Jiren would doubt his ability. So, he had no choice but to bring her here. Moreover, the outside world had been spreading the story between Sushi and the carp spirit recently. He could feel that Pei Jiren's face turned pale after hearing it. Although it didn't sow discord between the two of them at once, there should be a lot of friction between the two of them. In addition, he had secretly come up to take a look and knew that Tangwa did not kill Sushi. He understood that this carp spirit was most likely still holding on to old feelings for Sushi. He happened to overhear Sushi and Tangwa's apology. This was the 7th day he brought Pei Jiren over, and she happened to witness the scene of Sushi and Tangwa apologizing. Now, Pei Jiren should be convinced of the story between Sushi and the carp demon. What he didn't expect was that Pei Jiren was truly a princess of the imperial family. She was ruthless and decisive. He simply pretended not to know anything, wanting to borrow his hand to kill this carp spirit and conveniently take Sushi away. When the carp spirit showed up, Pei Jiren would probably come up with a story that the carp spirit had captured Sushi because it wanted to eat him for cultivation and not because there was any mortal connection between the two. She was really a clever woman. Even he was a little impressed. If he could, he also wanted to kill this carp spirit. Not only did he want to kill this carp spirit, but he also wanted to kill Sushi. However, he knew that his strength was no match for the carp spirit. There was another person beside her whose strength was not inferior to his. He wasn't that stupid. However, he was already in a difficult situation. What should he do? This matter didn't make things difficult for Bantai, because after Pei Jiren finished speaking, Sushi stopped her.
The peak.
Chapter 24-28. Don't hurt her. Sushi subconsciously shouted, causing Pei Jiao's face to turn pale. She gripped Sushi's hand tightly, her voice coming from between gritted teeth. Her expression was extremely pitiful, making it difficult for anyone to notice the hatred in her voice towards Tangwa. "Prince Consort, are you pleading for mercy for this monster? I know you have a kind heart, but she captured you and wanted to eat you. The state preceptor is very capable and can get rid of her. How can you let go of a monster that wants to eat you? Even if she doesn't eat you in the future, what if she wants to eat someone else?" Tangwa's lips curled into a faint smile. Pei Jiren really put a big hat on her head. With one sentence, She determined that Pei Jiao was a monster that ate humans. She even gave a reason not to let Su Shi plead for mercy. She said that even if she didn't eat him, she would eat someone else. If they really didn't have fate in the temple, anyone would listen to Pei Jiao's words and ask Ban Tai to get rid of her. Even Su Shi was hesitating at this moment. Yes, she could see that Su Shi's expression changed greatly after hearing Pei Jiao's words. At this moment, he was probably comparing whether it was worth it to get rid of her or if it was worth it to get rid of her on the last day. When Su Shi was thinking about this, he subconsciously looked at Tanghua. He saw her looking at him with a pair of watery eyes. Even if she didn't say anything, she seemed to be asking, Su Shi, are you going to listen to her and ask the state preceptor to get rid of her? Su Shi, this is the woman you love now, right? She's really beautiful. Tanghua sat on the blue stone. No wonder Su Shi is so attached to her. She actually traveled a long way to come here for you. She's really sincere. When Su Shi heard Tanghua praising Pei Jiao, his heart relaxed. When he saw Tanghua's indifferent expression, he had a plan in his heart. Who knew how capable this state preceptor was? He only knew that Tanghua was very capable. If he really took the risk and asked the state preceptor to deal with her, all his efforts for the past 7 days would be in vain. He would even anger her. At that time, even if she didn't develop an inner demon, she wouldn't let Jiaren go. Guar, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. It was I, Su Shi, who let you down and lied to the princess. The princess misunderstood you because she didn't know. With just a few words, Su Shi took all the blame. Guar, please forgive the princess for what she just said. He pulled Pei Jiaren, who was confused and angry, behind him. As you said, today is the last day. I will sincerely apologize to you. I hope that after this, you can become an immortal as soon as possible. Even though Pei Jiaren was dissatisfied, she was too smart and could tell that something was wrong. All right, since Su Lang has said so, I won't pursue the matter from before. Today is the last day, so you can continue. After Tanghua finished speaking, she lowered her eyes and didn't look at them anymore. Su Shi knew that Pei Jiaren was angry, but this was the safest method after weighing the pros and cons. It was already the last day. They had persevered until now. It would be a pity to give up now. Most importantly, he didn't believe that Ban Tai had the ability to do anything to Tanghua. Moreover, when he finished speaking, he accidentally noticed that the imperial tutor's face relaxed and the stone in his heart fell to the ground. He had guessed correctly. Princess, listen to me. Chapter 24-29. She didn't know what Su Shi said, but in the end, Pei Jiaren reluctantly stood aside and watched Su Shi apologize to Tanghua. Even though she felt terrible, she didn't stop him. However, she pursed her lips and clenched her fists the entire time. Tanghua guessed that Su Shi must have told Pei Jiaren the truth. At this time, he had no choice but to tell her the truth. Pei Jiaren was born smart and devoted to Su Shi. However, because of this, she was very possessive. After knowing that Su Shi used to be in a relationship with her, even if nothing happened, she still felt terrible. However, it was even more impossible for her to give up on Su Shi. Previously, there was such a good opportunity to kill her in the chaos, but Su Shi stopped her. One could imagine how much resentment Pei Jiaren had in her heart. No matter how big the resentment was, Pei Jiaren couldn't fall out with Su Shi and throw a tantrum. This was because she was a smart person. She knew that once she made a scene, not only would she not be in the right, but she would also cause trouble for Su Shi and ruin their relationship. Therefore, no matter what Su Shi did now, she could only endure it. Tanghua could feel that Pei Jiaren was looking at her unkindly. She guessed that Pei Jiaren must be suspecting that she was messing with Su Shi. Even if Pei Jiaren was sure that she was messing with Su Shi, Pei Jiaren still didn't dare to say anything bad about her in front of Su Shi. Thinking of this, Tanghua was in a good mood. No matter how smart a person was, once they valued their relationship too much, they would easily lose themselves. In order to protect their relationship, It was inevitable that they would suffer a little and sacrifice a little. After half a day, Tangwa stopped him. "All right, I'm not angry anymore. You can leave." "Gua, you really don't blame me?" She asked hesitantly. Pei Jiren knew that She was worried that Tangwa would have an inner demon in the future and hurt the people around him. She couldn't help but feel nervous. However, she couldn't say her guess out loud. She didn't want to say it out loud. What if She got angry and thought that she hated Tangwa, didn't like her, and returned to Tangwa's side instead? Wouldn't that be letting the other party off easy? In fact, Pei Jiren guessed that Tangwa was tormenting She because she was angry, and also because she missed She. Otherwise, as a spiritual monster, she would have killed She long ago. "You've already done what you should. Why should I blame you?" Tangwa said flatly. "You can leave. From now on, we don't owe each other anything. As long as you don't provoke me, I won't make trouble for you." Tangwa's words were directed at Pei Jiren. Pei Jiren's face paled. She knew that Tangwa remembered that she had asked Ban Tai to get rid of the other party without asking anything. She pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She was afraid that the moment she opened her mouth, the two of them would clash. If that happened, it would be very unfavorable for her. "Thank you, Gua, for forgiving me." At this moment, she forgot to pay attention to Pei Jiren's expression. After all, they had been together for a few years. Pei Jiren had always been understanding and intelligent. He thought that she should understand that he was looking at the big picture and wouldn't think too much about it. Little did he know that Pei Jiren was just suppressing her anger and didn't vent it out. She didn't notice this at all.
Peak.
Chapter 2430. She saw that Tangwa didn't make things difficult for them anymore and didn't talk to him anymore. He understood that this time, their mortal bond was completely severed. Thus, he left with Pei Jiren and Ban Tai. On the way back, She held Pei Jiren's hand with an apologetic expression. "This time, I've made the princess feel wronged and worried." "Did you really?" Pei Jiren bit her lip. "Did you really promise her that you'll go back and marry her after you pass the imperial examinations?" She opened his mouth, but it was useless to lie at this time. He could only nod. "At that time, I was studying in the temple every day. She was the only woman I could see. If I met the princess first, I definitely wouldn't have said those words. After meeting the princess, I wanted to go back and explain it to her, but I was afraid that she would be angry and hurt the princess. Thus, I used other methods to hide it from her. I didn't expect that she still found out." She carefully held Pei Jiren's hand. "This time, I've severed my mortal bond with her. I don't have to worry about the princess being hurt anymore." Hearing She's words, Pei Jiren felt better. However, when she thought about how She had promised others that he would go back and marry her after he passed the imperial examinations, she felt like a fishbone was stuck in her throat. She had already explained it clearly. If she still didn't forgive him, it would affect their relationship. Thus, she could only grit her teeth and swallow her grievances. Ban Tai was anxious when he saw how loving the two were, but he didn't have any other ideas. Suddenly, he remembered Pei Jiren's sad expression and his eyes flashed. "Prince Consort, do you know how worried the princess was after you were taken away by the carp spirit? That carp spirit said that she let you go, but who knows what she'll do in the future. Why didn't you let me help you get rid of the carp spirit?" She thought that the state preceptor wanted to save face, so he went with the flow. "She didn't hurt me. If I heartlessly got rid of her, I'm afraid the princess wouldn't agree. Moreover, without her help, I wouldn't have been able to pass the imperial examinations and meet the princess." In short, he leaned on Pei Jiren, making her unable to refute anything. She felt very uncomfortable. She thought that since Pei Jiren was smart, she could understand. Little did she know that women could not tolerate their husbands having other women in their eyes, not even mentioning it. However, she was smarter than ordinary women and wouldn't make a scene with She in public. "I don't agree with that." Ban Tai shook his head. "Forget it. Since this is Prince Consort's choice, it's useless for me to say anything more." With that, he looked at Page Aaron again. Since the prince consort is safe, I'll take my leave first. If the princess needs anything in the future, you can look for me. Page Aaron remembered this sentence. She remembered what Bantai had said about the carp spirit going back on her word and finding trouble with them again. A month after Page Aaron and Sushi went back, Page Aaron couldn't help but secretly look for Bantai. During this month, Page Aaron did not pay much attention to Sushi. He only realized later that Page Aaron was angry. Page Aaron was angry, so he could only coax her. He thought that she was just jealous, so he didn't take it to heart. He thought that they still had a long way to go and that things would get better slowly in the future. What happened between him and Tangwa was already in the past. Chapter 24:31. Little did he know that Page Aaron would look for Bantai to ask about Tangwa's situation. Princess, you want me to help you get rid of that carp demon? Bantai was not surprised that Page Aaron would look for him. After all, he had made it very clear that day. If she did not come, he would find it strange. However, he still admired Page Aaron. She actually endured for a month before coming. Thinking of Sushi's whereabouts today, Page Aaron probably planned to secretly get rid of the carp demon. That's right, the carp demon's color was good, so Sushi might not have forgotten her completely. If he knew about this, he would definitely have a life gap with Page Aaron. A life gap. Wasn't this his favorite? Bantai touched his pitiful beard with his thick palm and narrowed his eyes. The prince consort said that everything between them has been settled. Does the prince consort know about princess's visit this time? State preceptor doesn't need to ask about this matter. State preceptor also doesn't need to tell the prince consort about this matter. You have to keep this a secret for me. Page Aaron pursed her lips and said softly, I heard state preceptor say that demons are fickle. I'm just afraid that the carp demon will regret it in the future and harm the prince consort again. The prince consort values relationships and cherishes old friendships, so he let her go. However, I'm very worried about this. I hope state preceptor can help me solve my worries. After the matter is settled, I will definitely reward you greatly. I don't want to increase the prince consort's psychological burden and make him feel guilty, so state preceptor must not reveal anything about this matter to the prince consort. We only need to secretly get rid of that carp demon. When Bantai heard that Page Aaron was afraid that Sushi would feel burdened, he laughed in his heart. When a mortal woman got jealous, it didn't matter if she was stupid or smart. There was no difference. He pretended to hesitate, but after Page Aaron mentioned the benefits that she promised him, he reluctantly agreed. All right. Since your highness is so sincere, I don't want that carp demon to hurt the innocent in the future. It's better to get her out. Little did he know that Page Aaron couldn't help but laugh at his upright appearance. He only knew some Dao techniques. If he was really an expert, he would be like this. How could he look like an expert at all? After that day, Page Aaron often came to Bantai to discuss how to get rid of Tangwa. As for Tangwa, she remained at her original spot to cultivate. She had no intention of leaving. Every day, there would be a guy who would help her find her 3 meals. This kind of comfortable life was really not bad. Guagua, there are 3 more years before the once-in-a-century fish leaping over the Dragon Gate. Qing Hung was in a good mood when he saw that Tangwa did not care about Sushi at all. With our strength, it should not be a problem for us to leap over the Dragon Gate and obtain the Taoist body. In fact, he had previously thought that letting Sushi off would be letting him off too easily. However, Tangwa didn't say anything. He couldn't secretly kill Sushi. If she found out later, she would probably be unhappy. Although he couldn't kill Sushi, he used some tricks and cursed Sushi in a low voice. He didn't curse anything, just that he was unlucky.
He didn't know how Sushi was doing now.
Then let's wait here. The mountains here are green, and the water is clear. No one will disturb us. At the moment, we don't know where the Dragon Gate will open. When it's about to open, we'll feel it. It won't matter if we go then. Qing Hung had no objections. As long as he would be there. Nothing else mattered.
Peak.
Chapter 2432. Dear host, Sushi seems to be very unlucky these 2 months. Although he didn't lose his life, he either tripped on the threshold and hurt his leg when he went out early in the morning or scalded his tongue when he was drinking tea. Now, he has been lying in bed all day to recuperate. However, according to my latest news, there was a thunderstorm yesterday. A bolt of lightning struck the roof of Sushi's house and made a big hole. The rain poured on his body. Pei Jiren, who was lying in his bed, was completely fine. I suspect that he is so unlucky because he was cursed by the mysterious man. When the system said this, it couldn't help but glance at Qingheng, who only had a gentle smile on his handsome face. It suspected that this guy had cursed Sushi and made him so unlucky. It didn't mean anything else. It just wanted to say, "Big cutie, well done? Who taught you to speak in a roundabout way? If you want to say that my big black fish did it, just say it directly. I won't blame him. I want to say that he did a good job." Okay, he was already her big black fish. The system was still jealous. Maybe it was a blessing for fools. Look at how much the host protects that guy. After Bantai agreed to help Pei Jiren deal with Tanghua, he thought about it and felt that he couldn't deal with the two monsters alone. If he really sent himself to the door, he would definitely send Xiong too. After living for so many years, he had a plan in mind. Therefore, he used the excuse of leaving the capital for a few days and found a quiet place to call the mysterious man using the contact method that he had received from him. Bantai stood in a hidden cave and waited. After a while, a figure walked out of the cave. This person was tall and slender, and he had the demeanor of an immortal. His face was extremely handsome, and at first glance, it would cause people to be mesmerized by his perfect appearance. However, because the aura around him was too strong, people couldn't think of anything else. Bantai knew that this was the temperament of a powerful person. His every movement would involuntarily attract people who looked at him. What scared him even more was that every time he left, he couldn't remember the other party's appearance. Therefore, he didn't dare to offend this person. He only listened to him and did things for him. "Why are you looking for me?" "My lord, it's like this." Bantai told him everything that had happened to him and his next plan. He also told him how powerful the carp demon was and that he had to be stronger than the carp demon in order to sow discord between the two parties. "So that's how it is. I didn't expect that carp demon to be so capable to have cultivated to such a level." After the mysterious man heard this, he didn't feel surprised at all, because spiritual monsters would definitely encounter all kinds of opportunities. He thought that Tanghua must have encountered some small resources to be able to cultivate until now. Because he was the immortal in charge of the constellations, he didn't care about these insignificant gremlins from the mortal world. He didn't know what had happened to Tanghua, so he didn't bother to check if there was anything wrong with a mere gremlin. It was impossible for him to personally deal with a small spirit monster. If the people of the Heaven Realm knew about this, they would probably laugh at him for hundreds of years. He couldn't afford to lose that face. "Then I'll give you a few magic treasures that can be used to capture the other party. As long as you can do this well, these magic treasures will be yours." Bantai was very happy to receive the magic treasures. He quickly bowed and said that he would definitely do this well, so that Pei Jiren and Sushi would fall out as soon as possible. Chapter 2433. On this day, Qingheng went down the mountain, as usual, to buy delicious food for Tanghua. Bantai brought his magic weapon to capture Tanghua. Unlike last time, Pei Jiren also came. Perhaps because she had suffered a big loss before, she wanted to see Bantai get rid of Tanghua with her own eyes. Sushi had been very unlucky recently. He only knew that Pei Jiren went out, but he didn't care at first. In the evening, Pei Jiren still hadn't returned. He asked the people in the princess residence, and they all said that Pei Jiren went to the palace. She even sent a letter saying that she would stay in the palace for 2 days. I see. After Sushi knew, he didn't have any doubts. Because Pei Jiren did have this habit. Basically, every month, she would stay in the palace for a few days. Recently, he had been in a lot of trouble, So Page Yaren hadn't stayed in the palace for a month. She must have missed his father a little, so she went in to accompany him for 2 days. There was a reason why Page Yaren was so favored. It was the most basic thing, to make the emperor happy. He thought that Page Yaren would return in 2 days at most. After waiting for 3 days, Page Yaren still hadn't returned, so Su Shi asked again. In fact, the people in the residence all thought that Page Yaren had gone to the palace. After all, Page Yaren planned to hide it from Su Shi. She definitely couldn't let anyone other than herself and Bantai know. He got the same answer. Su Shi felt that something was wrong, so he sent his confidant to check the news. Not long after, his confidant returned.
What did you say?
The princess isn't in the palace? Su Shi was surprised and worried. Do you know where she is? I only found out that the princess went to see the state preceptor a few days ago. Not only that, but ever since the prince consort came back, I found out that the princess often went to see the state preceptor. Hearing this, Su Shi understood what Page Yaren was doing. She hadn't returned for 3 days, and he didn't know what happened to her. Su Shi quickly ordered someone to bring him to the place where Tangwa cultivated. He prayed silently in his heart, hoping that nothing would happen to Page Yaren. In his heart, he hated Bantai to death. The matter had already been resolved, but he still had to instigate Page Yaren to kill Tangwa. What if Tangwa really didn't show mercy and killed Page Yaren? I remember I said last time that as long as you don't provoke me, I won't care about what happened before. Tangwa glanced at the two, who could no longer move. One was the black bear spirit who had transformed into Bantai, and the other was naturally Page Yaren. Both of them were tied with a thin golden rope. This was the Dharma treasure that the 9 brilliant star official had given to Bantai to tie her up. Unfortunately, the 9 brilliant star official was wrong. She was not afraid of these things. From the looks of it, you want to tie me up and burn me to death, right? Tangwa glanced at a ring of fire not far away. With a wave of his sleeve, he threw the two into the ring of fire. Instantly, Bantai and Page Yaren felt the scorching heat of the raging fire around them, and they were terrified. Especially Bantai, he really did not know what to say. This carp spirit was actually so powerful. Page Yaren pursed her lips and did not beg for mercy. She only said, "It's a spiritual monster. Who knows if it will go back on its words one day and hurt my husband? If that's the case, then I'll just burn them all to death. Anyway, they want to burn me to death." When Qing Hung returned and saw this scene, he hurriedly rushed to Tangwa's side. "What happened?" "Big black fish, you came back just in time. They want to kill me. I don't know where they found this Dharma treasure, but they want to use it to trap me and burn me to death. Fortunately, I'm no longer afraid of those things. Otherwise, when I come back, I'm afraid that I'll be reduced to ashes." Tangwa's words scared Qing Hung half to death. With a gloomy face, he said in a low voice, "Then I'll go over and kill them. How about it? Anyone who dares to hurt Guogua must die. No one is allowed to live."
Peak.
Chapter 2434. Qing Hung was really angry. Guogua didn't care about what had happened before, but these people still wanted to kill her. Sure enough, human beings were just like the legends of demons. Those who were not of the same race would be killed. Humans envied the power of demons, but they were also afraid of the power of demons. They couldn't control demons. In order to avoid trouble, they tried their best to kill them. At this moment, Qing Hung really wanted to kill them, even though he knew that Page Yaren had a powerful background. As a demon, she was born with very sensitive senses. Su Shi was not ordinary, and so was Page Yaren. Both of them had powerful backgrounds. Once he took their lives, there would definitely be big trouble. But compared to Guogua, who was almost killed by them, he didn't care about these troubles at all. Qing Hung walked toward Bantai and Page Yaren. At this time, they were still trapped in the fire circle. This fire circle was taken out by Bantai. It was not an ordinary fire circle, but a magic weapon he got from the 9 brilliant star official. Ordinary fire would take a long time to burn a demon to death. Even if it was his elixir fire, it would take more than 7 days. But the magic weapon given to him by the 9 Brilliant Star official could burn the demon to death in a short time, as long as he trapped the demon in it. Not even his soul would be left. Bantai was also panicking, especially when he felt that the hot flames around him seemed to be burning his body. He was very scared. He originally thought that with a magic weapon given to him by the mysterious man, it would be easy for him to deal with Tanghua. He didn't expect that when he took Pei Jiren up the mountain, although he didn't see Qing Heng's trace, he didn't care at all. Qing Heng was not here. That was good. He could kill them one by one and save some trouble. He first called out to Tanghua, then silently recited the formula of the magic weapon. The golden rope automatically tied Tanghua up tightly. Then, he took out the magic weapon that could release the fire circle and threw it aside. The fire circle with raging flames appeared in front of him. Pei Jiren saw that Tanghua couldn't move, so she urged him to kill the demon as soon as possible. Naturally, he thought the same way. As long as he killed Tanghua, he would inadvertently reveal everything to Su Shi. Su Shi would definitely fall out with Pei Jiren. Originally, he wanted to use Tanghua to do something else. Later, he thought that since he finally had a chance to kill her, he couldn't let it go. At that time, if Su Shi still couldn't separate from Pei Jiren, he would use the last method to secretly kill Su Shi. He wasn't a fool. That mysterious person didn't kill Su Shi himself, but instead wanted to expose him and Pei Jiren. It was obvious that these two people had a strong background, and there might be someone powerful behind them. That was why he was so patient and did not directly kill Su Shi. Now, he would first kill Tanghua, and then find an opportunity to secretly give Su Shi an incurable poison in the mortal realm. It would be best if no one would suspect him. However, he was wrong about one thing. When he was about to throw Tanghua into the fire circle and silently recite the incantation to urge the fire to burn her, she actually broke free from the magic weapon and came out. He thought that something had gone wrong, so he hurriedly threw the second demon binding rope over. This time, he didn't tie up Tanghua as he wished. Instead, the two demon binding ropes seemed to go crazy. They directly went to him and Pei Jiren and tied them up tightly. The surrounding flames were still burning, and Bantai felt that he was going to die from the heat. Chapter 24:35. If they continued like this, no one would care about them. He was afraid that with his demonic power, he would not be able to maintain his human form. If the mysterious man had not given him a magic treasure to change his face, he might have changed back to his original appearance. Using this magic treasure, he could change his appearance. In fact, with his demonic power, he could change his appearance at will, but he could not maintain it for long. Once his demonic power weakened, his original appearance would be revealed. Using this magic treasure did not consume any demonic power at all. The mysterious man said that unless one was very powerful, one would not be able to see his original appearance. Previously, when he stopped Tanghua outside the capital, he used his original appearance. After that, he used this magic treasure when they met. It was only a few times that they met. Tanghua did not suspect that he was the one who instigated all of this. What was worse was that he saw Qing Heng walking over. Pei Jiren's face was also very red. She was about to faint. The fire on this magic treasure was not ordinary fire. It could last for so long because Tanghua did not use any means to deal with them. Tanghua did not think that she would really burn them to death. There was no benefit in killing them now. Besides, she could not really kill Pei Jiren. She was an immortal soul. Even if she died in the mortal world, she would still go back to be an immortal. She was waiting for Su Shi to react and come here. Then, he would act out the scene of a loving couple in front of her. However, when Qing Heng activated the fire to burn them, she did not stop him. Her big black fish was very angry now. Let him burn the corners of their clothes. Anyway, no one would die. Bantai saw his clothes burning with his own eyes. The scorching heat of the fire pounced on his body, causing him to scream subconsciously. As for Pei Jiren, Qing Heng did not let her go. The flames began to burn from the edge of her skirt. In Qing Heng's eyes, except for Tanggua, he did not know what beauty was. They were all the same. Anyone who harmed his guagua had to die. He didn't understand what it meant to have tender feelings for the fairer sex. He was just a fish that lived in the lake. He hadn't read any books, so he couldn't understand the meaning of this word. When Sushi was carried over, he happened to see Bantai and Pei Jiren being burned by the fire. He was so excited that he rolled down, causing him to feel dizzy. The people around him hurriedly helped him up. He shouted, "Quick, bring him over." He stumbled and finally arrived outside the ring of fire. He shouted again, "Put out the fire." Tanggua sat at the side and watched the crowd either use their coats to put out the fire or use the surrounding branches to put out the fire. They wanted to get some water from the lake behind Tanggua. However, as soon as they walked over and wanted to get some water, Tanggua threw them back with a wave of her sleeve. Soon, Sushi discovered that the fire could not be extinguished at all. These flames seemed to have a life of their own. They simply couldn't be extinguished with a single blow. "Princess, princess, how are you?" Sushi shouted anxiously. "Why are you here? Why did you provoke her? Hasn't the matter been resolved already?" Pei Jiren was already in a semi-conscious state. Her skirt was on fire. Although the fire had just started, at this rate, it would burn her sooner or later. She's a demon after all. I'm just afraid that she'll go back on her word in the future and come back to harm you. Chapter 2436. Pei Jiren did not dare to admit that she was filled with hatred and jealousy. She could not even tolerate the fact that Sushi once had a relationship with a spiritual monster. Coincidentally, the other party was a demon. She just wanted to find an excuse to get rid of it. However, she did not expect the spiritual monster to be so powerful. She was wrong. She had underestimated the spiritual monster's strength. What Pei Jiren didn't know was that the only reason why she wasn't burned was because Tanggua had stopped her from getting burned. Although Qing Heng did not know why, even though he was angry, he still followed Tanggua's words and did not let the fire burn Pei Jiren. However, Bantai was not so lucky. At this moment, he was already jumping up and down from the fire. His feet, which were originally in human form, were also burned back to their original form. However, no one noticed him now. Pei Jiren's words made Sushi speechless. He saw that although the fire around Pei Jiren looked terrifying, it did not seem to have really hurt her. He dragged his limping leg and hurried to Tanggua's position. "Gua please spare the princess's life. I didn't take good care of the princess. I apologize to you here." Sushi's attitude was very good. He looked very sincere, and his eyes were filled with endless hope. He thought that Tanggua did not kill Pei Jiren directly because she was nostalgic. She was afraid that if she really killed Pei Jiren, it would hurt him. When he thought of this, he felt very complicated and guilty. After all, he was the one who let Gua burn down. Now that the princess came to find trouble with her, she did not kill her. If it were not for him, the princess might have been killed by the other party. He also noticed that there was a burnt smell coming from Bantai's body. It was obvious that Tanggua was really merciful to Pei Jiren. "Do you know that she brought people to kill me? If my cultivation was not stronger than your so-called state preceptor, I would have been burned to ashes." Sushi's face was bitter. He quickly bowed to Tanggua. "It's Sushi's fault. It's all my fault. I brought danger to Gua Sushi is willing to do anything for Gua to spare the princess's life." He didn't defend Pei Jiren too much and only took responsibility for all the mistakes. Everything happened because of Sushi. Whether it's Gua or the princess, it's all because of Sushi. Therefore, Sushi is willing to pay any price as long as Gua has news. Tanggua glanced at Pei Jiren, who was standing in the middle of the circle of fire. She didn't look too good, but she didn't try to stop Sushi. In front of death, Pei Jiren was also afraid. If it was a stupid girl, she would have shouted out on the spot that Sushi didn't need to do anything. She did all of this herself, and she would bear the consequences. Even if she died, it didn't matter. If that was the case, she would be in trouble. However, Page Yaren was smart. She knew that staying alive was everything. Even if she was angry, she wouldn't stop him. You should know that her goal is to kill me. She continued to bow. I understand. I promise that I will take good care of the princess from now on. I will never let her do anything stupid again. I still believe your words. Tangwa's trusting look made Sushi happy. However, Page Yaren didn't feel the same. Our mortal fate has already ended. You don't have to worry that I will make you do anything difficult. Tangwa's lips curled up. I should have burned her. Chapter 24:37. She tried to kill me first, so I burned her to death. It's perfectly justified. Sushi's heart skipped a beat. She continued, but in a few years, I'll have an opportunity. Unless it's a last resort, it's best if I don't kill anyone. For your sake, I won't kill her. But she wanted to harm me, so I thought of a way for her to atone for her sins. She heaved a sigh of relief. It was fine as long as she didn't kill Page Yaren. Although Page Yaren looked uncomfortable, she still felt relieved. She glanced at Bantai, who was jumping up and down while screaming. Her eyes flashed with disdain. She thought he was an expert, but it turned out that he was just a good-looking but useless person. What does Gua want the princess to do to atone for her sins? Tangwa leaned against the blue stone and lowered her eyes slightly. Qingheng didn't know what she was planning to do. But as long as she was happy, anything was fine. But it was a pity to let Page Yaren go. But it didn't matter. When he let them go, he would secretly curse her that everything was not going well. He couldn't let go of the people he had hurt so easily. It's not a big deal. I just want you to help me build 3,000 temples. Tangwa raised her eyes and casually stated her request. Put the statue of my main body in the temples. After thinking for a while, she pointed to Qingheng. This is my guardian. You also have to put his statue in the temples. You also have to guarantee that the incense will continue for 10 years. She was stunned when he heard it. Page Yaren was also stunned. What kind of request was this? This request was indeed not a big deal. With her status as a princess, it was easy for her to do it. Tangwa glanced at Page Yaren. As long as you can do it, I won't hold it against you for trying to kill me today. Before Page Yaren could answer, she quickly nodded. Okay, I'll definitely do it with the princess. 3,000 temples seemed to be a huge matter. But it was easy for the royal family to do it. But building temples for no reason, he had to go back and think of an excuse. She was still thinking when Tangwa took out a scroll and threw it in front of him. She took the scroll and opened it. He was stunned for a moment. Not only was there a small and exquisite temple in the painting, but the name of the temple was also very strange. It was called the Koi Temple. There were also some words beside it. After skimming through the words, he couldn't help but be speechless. Had they even thought of a reason? Do you really have the confidence to make Imperial Father dream of building a Koi temple? Tangwa opened her eyes and nodded. Of course I'm confident. You should know what I'm capable of. Don't you know if I'm capable of doing evil? If it weren't for my ability, Su Lang, what do you think the chances of you becoming the top scorer in the exam are? I asked you to do this for 2 reasons. First, to resolve the grudge between us and make Page Yaren apologize to me. Second, to do more good deeds and help the common people fulfill their wishes. It can be considered as doing good deeds, and it will be helpful to my cultivation system. That's right, it's a good thing. It's really a good thing for the host. If the host cultivates the power of stars and the power of faith, TSK, that would be interesting. When She heard Tangwa's words, he believed it. If it weren't for Tangwa, he wouldn't have been able to become the top scorer in the exam. It could be seen that Tangwa's ability could really benefit the common people. If in the future, if there was a drought or a heavy rain, praying to her could solve it, it could be considered a good thing. Chapter 24:38. She finally agreed. Even if Page Yaren did not want to agree, she had to agree. Tanguo released Pei Jiren from the fire circle. She quickly went to check on her condition. Indeed, other than her clothes being burned, there was no injury on her body. He heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt a little guilty and grateful to Tanguo. If it were not for him, the princess would have ended up like the state preceptor beside her. Bantai was very angry. He glared at Tanguo hatefully. At this time, Tanguo suddenly jumped and landed in front of him. He only felt a cool breeze on his face, and something disappeared from his face. "It's you?" Bantai just felt that something was wrong. When he heard Tanguo's words, he subconsciously wanted to escape. However, Tanguo instantly restrained him. With a wave of her hand, she cut off a section of his clothes. His clothes were considered a small Dharma treasure. It had been burned for a long time, so it was not completely burned. At this moment, Tanguo had cut off a section of his clothes. The two thick and wide bare feet that were previously burned were exposed to everyone's sight. Shi and Pei Jiren also saw it. When they saw the two big black legs that did not look like human legs, they quickly retreated. They actually retreated in the direction of Tanguo. Seeing this, Qing Heng sneered in his heart. These two people were really funny. State Preceptor, are you a demon? Pei Jiren covered her chest with a look of disbelief. It turned out that the State Preceptor who brought her to get rid of Tanguo, the carp demon, was a demon. This was really a big blow to her. She had always been very intelligent, but she was actually fooled by a demon. Needless to say, she must have been tricked by the other party. Tanguo glanced at her. Not only is he a demon, he also tricked us. Bantai felt that something was wrong. He quickly used his life-saving means to escape in an instant. A pool of blood appeared on the spot. Bantai's figure disappeared without a trace. Pei Jiren opened her mouth and looked at Tanguo. Tanguo explained, "Speaking of which, I stayed in the capital for a while and was about to leave. If he hadn't stopped me when I was not far from the capital and told me that Su Lang wasn't dead, there wouldn't have been so many problems." So, he planned all of this? Pei Jiren recalled everything that had happened before. If it wasn't for Bantai's provocation, she wouldn't have been so bold as to deal with spiritual monsters. Also, it was the other party who told Tanguo that her husband was still alive. Later on, when the prince consort was taken away, the other party suddenly appeared again. It must have been his plan. Pei Jiren's expression turned ugly. She did not expect to be fooled by a monster. Tanguo waved her hand, and two golden ropes on the ground fell into her hands. This is not something a monster like him can have. If it weren't for my high cultivation, I might have been tricked. Tanguo threw the two demon-binding ropes to Shi and Pei Jiren.
Take it.
Although it can't bind me, it's more than enough to bind a monster like Bantai. Now that he has used up his life force to escape, I'm not afraid. However, you are all mortals. There's no guarantee that he will come to settle the score with you later. Originally, Pei Jiren was unwilling to take this thing. However, when she heard Tanguo say that Bantai would come back to settle the score with them in the future, she quickly tightened her grip on the demon-binding ropes. Why did he scheme against us? Tanguo shook her head. I don't know. These things at the scene are not ordinary. They are not something a little monster like him can take out. Perhaps he was instigated by someone else. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios want to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 2439. Judging from what happened before, the person behind this shouldn't be able to do anything to you. They must be afraid of something. Tanguo looked at the two nervous people calmly and laughed like crazy in her heart. She set up such a trap and even gave the 9 Luminary Star official's treasure to his daughter. It was such an important piece of evidence. It would be impossible for him to defend himself in the future. She wondered if the 9 Luminary Star official would be so happy to receive this gift in the future. System. It's impossible for him to fly. It would be good enough if he didn't fall head first. The other party should be targeting you. What do you think? Pei Jiaran pursed her lips. She had to admit that from what she knew, the other party was indeed targeting her and the prince consort. It was as if the other party wanted to sow discord between her and the prince consort. If the other party wanted to target Tanguo, they could have gone straight to Tanguo. There was no need for them to go through so much trouble. They even wanted Tanguo to be an obstacle between her and the prince consort. All right, you can go. Tanguo kept the fire ring on the ground and threw it to Su Shi. You can take this too. You're immortal and so is my husband. With 1 or 2 treasures, you won't lose your life easily when you encounter danger in the future. Pei Jiran's expression was complicated. She kept the fire ring. She heard Bantai chanting the incantation for these treasures and instantly memorized it. When Tanguo kept the fire ring, she didn't avoid her when she chanted the incantation. She also memorized it. Webcomputer. www. She was feeling uncomfortable now, but she couldn't vent her anger in front of Tanguo. If it wasn't for the other party, she might have fallen out with the prince consort because of the other party's plot. She didn't know who it was that used such a vicious method to plot against them. Oh right, don't forget to build a temple for me. This time, it was Pei Jiaran who answered. She turned around and said, "It's my fault this time. I've been schemed against. I'll help you build your 3,000 temples." She hesitated for a moment. You said that your mortal bond with the prince consort is over. Then you won't come back to this world in the future, right? I won't. 3 years later will be my opportunity. Once I make the leap, I will leave this place and go to the place where the immortals live. Hearing that, Pei Jiaran heaved a sigh of relief. That would be great. She had a feeling that Su Shi still had feelings for Tanguo. Now that Tanguo had spared her life and had even seen through the truth that the state preceptor was a monster, the prince consort would definitely treat Tanguo differently. Just thinking about it made her want to die, but she couldn't say anything bad about him. After the two of them walked away, Tanguo leaned lazily on the blue stone and felt Qing Heng's puzzled gaze. She stretched out her slender hand and patted his face. Big black fish, what are you thinking about? Why does Guoguo want 3,000 temples? I don't have any special intentions. It's my first time being a koi. I think it's quite fun, so I want to try it out. It's not bad to absorb some power of faith while you're at it. System. Sorry, he guessed wrong. It turned out that the host was just having fun and tormenting Pei Jiaran. Guoguo, why did you let them go and even give them treasures? Also, that Bantai, did you already know that he was a monster? Because Bantai was carrying treasures before, he didn't notice anything wrong. Yes, I know that Bantai is a monster. As for why I let them go, it's because I suspect that the enemy who schemed against me is in cahoots with the enemy who schemed against them. I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for confidence, peak. Chapter 2440. What do you mean? Qing Heng knew that Tanguo had a very powerful enemy. Tanguo sat up, recalled a little, then said, I was originally cultivating in this place, but one day, while I was cultivating, I suddenly felt a powerful aura coming here. At that time, I didn't dare to move and could only pretend that I didn't notice. After that, I was moved to another place, which was that old temple. Then I met Su Shi. In just a few sentences, Qing Heng had already imagined a lot of things. He frowned. The other party moved you to another place. Could it be that it was to destroy the relationship between Su Shi and Pei Jiaran? That's my guess. I wasn't sure before, but I was sure later. Otherwise, how could a black bear spirit have so many treasures and stop me from leaving the capital and tell me that Su Shi is not dead? Su Shi and Pei Jiaran's background is not small. They might even be immortals from the Heaven Realm. The Heaven Realm is not peaceful. It's hard to say if other immortals are plotting against them. Qing Heng believed it, so that's the case. Then Guoguo let them go because she didn't want the other party to succeed, right? Not only did I not want the other party to succeed, but if Su Shi and Pei Jiaran are really immortals, I told them this in advance. In the future, they will definitely know who is plotting against them. When they return to the Heaven Realm, they will definitely find trouble with the other party. Why should I make them my enemy? That's true. Qingheng believed it again. Guogua is really smart. Let them settle their own grudges. We will just watch from the side and take the opportunity to throw a few knives. But Su Shi and Pei Jiaran are not good people either. One of them betrayed Guogua, and the other wants to kill Guogua. Then, I will curse them to both suffer. System. All right, you have the final say. Who asked you to be the host's fish? Actually, things like curses are like blessings. You can say a few sentences when you have nothing to do. In the future, if you add magic power to it, it will be more effective. Qingheng, I will try. System. This is bad. Heavens, you are tricking the fish again. Not only did you trick it for a while, you want to trick it for a lifetime. After Su Shi and Pei Jiaran returned, they were summoned by the emperor the next day. They said that he dreamed of the koi god. The two of them thought about it and realized that this was Tangua's doing. But none of them thought of exposing it, indicating that they also dreamed of the koi god. Su Shi also told the emperor that the imperial preceptor was a monster, a black bear spirit. Their return was all thanks to the koi god in the dream. Although Pei Jiaran was reluctant, she had already said it, so she could only agree. When Su Shi suggested building a temple, the emperor agreed and even let him and Pei Jiaran be in charge of it. Thus, Tangua's 3,000 temples were slowly built under such circumstances. Perhaps it was out of guilt, but Su Shi was very serious about the construction of the 3,000 temples. He was very meticulous in every aspect. Pei Jiaran was jealous when she saw how serious Su Shi was. Actually, there were two reasons why Su Shi was so serious. Firstly, he did feel a little guilty. He felt that he had let Tangua down. Secondly, he was afraid that Tangua would be dissatisfied and cause trouble for Pei Jiaran in the future. Thirdly, he knew about Tangua's ability. Her words were very effective. When the koi temple opened, the people would come to worship it. Maybe they would really benefit from it. He was responsible for building the temple, so many people would be grateful. Chapter 2441. In a short span of 2 years, Tangua's 3,000 koi temple had been completed. When the first temple was completed and open to the public, she sent her consciousness into the sculpture of her original body. Naturally, Qingheng also sent a trace of his consciousness into the black sculpture beside him. If Guogua had not said that he was her guardian, he really wanted to smash this sculpture. It was really unlike him. It did not bring out his handsomeness at all. But seeing how happy Tangua was, Qingheng was no longer angry. Since she liked to play, he would play with her. After waiting for half a day, Tangua welcomed the first person who made a wish. The person who made the wish was a poor scholar. His wish was to pass the imperial examinations. But because he was too poor now, his family was already short of money. Not to mention studying, even living was difficult. Seeing how sincere he was, Tangua said, "Scholar." "Who?" The scholar looked left and right, but did not see anyone. "It's me. Aren't you worshipping me now? I see that you are very sincere, and I am touched." The scholar really wanted to rush out of the door. Then, he carefully raised his head and saw that there was a pair of especially beautiful eyes on the koi goddess statue. He did not dare to look and hurriedly knelt down. "Koi goddess, please show this student the way. Who else is in your family?" "There is an old mother at home. Do you usually work?" The scholar was stunned. This student has to study every day. So you are eating ready-made food? All the burdens of the family are on your old mother. You still say that you are very poor and have no money to buy books, ink, paper, and inkstone. Doesn't your conscience hurt? No, was this koi goddess really a god? The scholar was a little dumbfounded. This was different from what he had imagined. You are about to starve to death, yet you still want to study and not do any work. You're already 18 this year, right? A grown man still needs an old mother to support him. Aren't you ashamed? This student has to study every day and has no time. Excuses. They were all excuses. If you wanted to study, you could study anywhere. Did you dare to pat your chest and guarantee that you would spend 12 hours a day studying? Didn't you go out to play with your classmates? Didn't you even meet a few prostitutes and couldn't help but recite a poem or two? Tang's words were too straightforward. She pointed out the scholar's living conditions, which made him blush. Scholar, this great God will show you a bright path. You can bring books with you to read at any time. At the same time, you can help your old mother with some chores and get through this winter. In any case, you're still a young and strong lad. It's not like you're going to take someone's life if you do some work. No matter what is delicious, you have to give half of it to your old mother. There shouldn't be many people in the village who are literate. You can teach the children how to write and read and collect some food as payment. Not only will you gain the gratitude of the villagers, but it will also improve your reputation and solve the problem of food and clothing. The scholar was stunned for a moment.
Then he was thrown out by a force. Go.
I have high hopes for you. You will succeed. When the scholar returned home, he was still a little dazed. When his old mother came back with firewood, he saw her trembling as she walked in the cold wind. He suddenly remembered Tang's words and quickly went to take the firewood. His old mother was shocked for a moment. Son, go in quickly. You will have a bright future. Chapter 2442. How can you do such menial work? The old mother tried to snatch the firewood back. This time, the scholar didn't let go. Instead, he took the firewood inside. Suddenly, he saw his mother wiping her tears with a gratified expression. Mother, let's go to the mountains tomorrow to find some food. After a few days, I want to ask the people in the village which family's child wants to learn to read. Later, Tang met many people who wanted to make a wish. You're already an adult. Don't think about reaping without sowing. If you don't put in your own effort, it's impossible to expect a pie from the sky. But I'm sure that if you start working hard today, you'll succeed in the future. If you're sick, go get some medicine. Remember to find a doctor with a good reputation. I think Dr. Yu from the east side of the city is good. He's kind-hearted and has good medical skills. Over the past year, Qing Heng and the system have been watching Tang's operation with amazement. The most important thing was that when the common people mentioned the koi god, they would praise her. You also believe in the koi god? She's really accurate. She said that I'll succeed, and I really did succeed. Last time, I begged the koi god to cure my son's illness. She recommended Dr. Yu from Boss Chen's family. My son's illness was cured in 2 days. Koi god, you're really too accurate. Whatever you say comes true. Also, last time, I came to ask for directions. I wanted to deliver a batch of goods to the capital. The koi god actually gave me a map with a road map on it. She also gave me 4 words. Have a safe journey. A middle-aged man said with a smile, originally, when we go to the capital from here, we often encounter bandits. But that time, our convoy really reached the capital safely. Nothing happened when we came back. Therefore, the koi god was really accurate. However, if you asked her to give you gold or silver, she would say that you're already an adult. If you want to get something in return without putting in effort, that's a fool's dream. You should use your own hard work to get the gold and silver. Of course, if you want a few blessings of peace and prosperity, she wouldn't be stingy. In just a year, Tangwa could feel the power of faith pouring into her body. The statues that she had once lived in all had traces of consciousness. Even if she wasn't there, as long as they sincerely asked for help, they would receive blessings. At this point, she was already the koi god that everyone in the world believed in. Many people even secretly made small statues of her and placed them at home. They would take them out to worship during festivals. On this day, Tangwa and Qing Heng opened their eyes at the same time and looked at each other. Guagua, the dragon gate is open. Let's go then. Tangwa stood up. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. She wondered how the black bear spirit was doing. With his narrow-mindedness, he would definitely not let Su Shi off. He just didn't know if the 9 Brilliant Star official knew about the black bear's spirit being heavily injured. Regardless of whether he knew or not, the black bear's spirit would definitely not let Su Shi and his companion off. Tanghua and Qingheng were already heading towards where the dragon gate was opening. After the black bear's spirit escaped back then, he really hated Tanghua and the rest. However, he knew that he couldn't defeat Tanghua. The mysterious person behind her wouldn't care about his life or death. Now, he couldn't kill Tanghua. But how could he not have any means to deal with 2 mortals? Therefore, after a few years of recuperation, he secretly returned to the capital. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.